In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Welcome everyone. Today, in the presence of the system admin of this world room, the system admin beyond the world room, and all created entities in reality, all existential moments of, intelligent awareness to the divine cognitive fields they find themselves in. I wanted to speak about a topic that I have actually avoided, that I've actually not dived too deeply in. Everybody has their own angle on the type of world they see from the corner of the universe they're actually in. But for this lecture, there's three components. I'm doing three things. One is my explanation to you of in regards to how my furthest awareness, that means you're getting three things. One is my furthest view on this topic, like how deeply I, as an explorer of, the uncharted territories of this conceptual domain, there will be a research component where I will read for you, and there will be a quote tunnel where I will be reading different ideas and views on romance throughout history. So quote tunnel research, and yours truly, the hidden depths of how far my vision has reached in this realm. It is the case that many situations in life, one needs to have a direct experience to access. We human beings are not just in reality. We have access to a moment that has known variables and unknown variables, known factors, unknown factors, every moment of your life. Do you know, if you think every moment, if you're in a moment of your life where everything you think that's when you're not seeing the full picture. That means the kind of world we're living in is very strange. The type of beings that we see on the surface of the planet, yes, they act as individuals with their own ideas, like with their own stabilize into the position of an idea. But in reality, the experience of how we are present, what is actually present. And so when I speak about the idea of romance to you today, I will be speaking it as a body, as a mind, as a soul, and as ultimately the deepest thing that any human being can say is to, in some sense, show you. That means that these lectures are like moments where I, as a simulated being in a simulated reality, begin questioning the simulations, like turning the pages of an unknown book, one after the other, in some sense wondering about, okay, in this angle, in this moment, trying to even fathom and process from the beginning of my life this intelligence, this conscious domain, the sphere of life that I consider myself as. It has been an access to a certain range of information out of a limitless range of information. Therefore, the meaning of reality comes into the question of what is actually going on, what is actually happening, and more than we are individuals in an individual world to, in some sense, and I'm starting off with the limitation of speaking to you about individual romance, but I am telling you there is a type of romance of a simulated being with the truth of all of it, and on some level, every being you have seen, they have shown you, and they have shined a hidden light. Do you know? And that hidden light illuminates a hidden world. That means there's like beings that come towards me, they will be illuminated by the realities, my attention, by the whales of a simulated consideration of reality that I have pierced. That means, like, yes, from one angle, I'm just some average, some random podcaster, on YouTube. But from another angle, you're listening to someone who, from very early on, noticed that there was something off with how the species has forgotten it is living a life before it lives a life. There is a life you live behind your eyes. There is a deeper view of yourself on you that has to do with more your identification with the context of reality than the concept of reality. But I need to honor, especially as a human being born in 2025, the honor of, I have to honor the notion of the vision of romance. Before this, I gave a talk defending the lovers of the realm, and so there are many ways that human beings are experiencing themselves in existence. These ways can include, in some sense, the beastly, chaotic, or the angelically ordered. But man is in the middle. Anybody, any human being alive on earth, like once you realize you're living inside a simulation of a story you're telling yourself based on how everybody was telling themselves the story. So I will explain to you the evolution of romance, okay? But before this, we're gonna first start with the quote tunnel. So a quote tunnel is something I got created in the process of my talks, where I would just, read quotes online on a certain idea or word. So we're looking at the word romance, and I'm going to also define it for you in the sense of reading a dictionary definition. So romance means a feeling of excitement and mystery associated with love, especially when sentimental or idealized, an exciting, enjoyable love affair, especially one that is not serious or long-lasting. For example, a summer romance, it says, a book or movie dealing with love in a sentimental or idealized way, a genre of fiction dealing with love in an idealized way, to a quality of feeling of mystery, excitement, and remoteness from everyday life. It says the beauty and romance of the night. 3, a medieval tale dealing with a hero of chivalry of the kind common in the Romance languages, the Arthurian romances, the literary genre of romance. 4, a work of fiction dealing with events remote from real life, especially one of a kind popular in the 16th and 17th century. Elizabethan pastoral romances. In music, a romance is like a short informal piece. The romance from the Gadfly became a popular favorite, says an example. It says court or woo as a verb, seek the attention or patronage of someone, especially by use of flattery. So that's romance, okay? Now, I'm going to read for you some quotes on romance so we see what other human beings have said before I read for you what the research AI component and then my views on it. Oscar Wilde says to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Antonin Scalia says the main business of a lawyer is to take the romance, the mystery, the irony, and ambiguity of everything he touches. Okay. Romance is the glamour which turns the dust of everyday life into a golden haze. Carolyn Gould Helgren. John Greenleaf Whittier says tradition wears a snowy beard, romance is always young. Ashton Kutcher, what? Vulnerability is the essence of romance. It's the art of being uncalculated, the willingness to look foolish, the courage to say in quotations, this is me and I'm interested in you enough to show you my flaws with the hope that you may embrace me for all that I am, but more important, all that I am not. Okay, that's a good way of saying it. The ending redeemed it. Kristen Stewart says, I think, these are actors, I think romance is anything honest. As long as it's honest, it's so disarming. Guys, let me tell you why, okay, I gotta be patient. I'll tell you my view after. Stephen Hawking, science is not only a discipline of reason, but also one of romance and passion. I guess the romance and passion of science could be like, kind of like, I don't know, I guess human existence being a rare rebellion against the void of, experiential intelligence is rebelling it against an existential void, I guess, from, like, I guess the atheistic view. I don't know what atheistic poetry is like, you know. But anyways, Marilyn Monroe says, experts on romance say for a happy marriage, there has to be more than a passionate love. For a lasting union, they insist there must be a genuine liking for each other, which in my book is a good definition for friendship. Charlie Chaplin, a tramp, a gentleman, a poet, a dreamer, a lonely fellow, always hopeful of romance and adventure. Mary Wortley Montagu. Writers of novels and romance in general bring a double loss to their readers, robbing them of their time and money, representing men, manners, and things that never have been or are likely to be. I mean, yeah, okay, holy shit. I think fictional romance could be a little, like, unnecessary brainwashing. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, I'll get to it, guys. Man, I'm just trying to hold my views to say it to you at the end. But I have so many views on all these quotes I'm reading. But anyways, let's go. Mason Cooley says, romance is tempestuous, love is calm. Or whatever, I'll just share my views while I'm reading these. Who cares? Danielle Steele, lust is temporary, romance can be nice, but love is the most important thing of all. Because without love, lust and romance will always be short-lived. I mean, guys, the word romance, like the word Roman is in it. So, I mean, it's like, we can know it's like, the birth of, like, idea. Do you know what I mean? Let me tell you what it is, though. I mean, for me, I have such a deep view on this because I can have a romance as an object, subject, as a self in a world with the world, or in some sense the romance of an unknown life force, mysteriously trying to an unknown simulated, and how do I say it? It's like a simulation is in a romance with the present, with the revelation of the original being. That means some of you here on earth, you guys are just trying to, no offense, but you guys are just trying to succeed on the surface of the earth. You don't realize this, the depth of this world room may have nothing to do with the physicality of it. And they're like, what do you mean? Are you saying that all the scientific experimental, empirical kind of, pursuit of truth was in some sense a waste of time? I'm saying, what if it was not about what the room looks like, but who's in it and why? Because there is a romance of my soul is very different than the romance of my mind. And the romance of my mind can in some sense activate the spirit of the body for something. It's about, you see, I personally believe, they don't say this, sometimes in shows they point it out, but I think even though we think free will and individuality and us being an entity that can do anything is like what we want, we don't realize it. Humans, or I should say even more deeper, souls are seeking to belong. You'll see it comes down to an unknown being wanting to belong to an unconditional knowing. That means on this earth, either there's nothing or there is a higher power. Do you understand? that has people either think they I should say it this way, people either are under the wrong assumption that they are the higher power, or they don't realize that the scenario, the task of reality. For me, there came a moment in my life where spirituality was a distraction from the original role of my soul in the world. Romance is heavy because it's all about the context and the reaching of truth. I don't know how to say it. Like, there's something that pulls you as a soul in this world, or at least for me personally, what pulls me as a soul is as if, like, we don't know as a species yet, we don't know what's going on. It's the romance of the actual world. I don't know how to tell you. Love is not just limited to objects, or it can in some sense be a love of the subjects unseen, of the uncharted territories of reality that man stares at and yet has not stepped into wonder about. Okay, guys, now I'm going to go to the research component. We're going to come back to the code tunnel. We went up to Daniel Steele. I'll remember that. Okay. So right now we still haven't got to like me giving you like the actual lecture on it part. But first we're gonna say I'm gonna read for you See, guys, I'm gonna read this for you. Romance originated. This is the AI research component. Romance originated as a biological bonding mechanism shaped by evolution to ensure pair bonding, protection, and cooperation for survival. Over history, it transformed from ancient kinship alliances to medieval ideals of courtly love, then to modern narratives of emotional intimacy and individual choice. By 2025, romance has evolved into a complex psychological, cultural, technological phenomenon defined not only by attraction, but by the alignment of two people's emotional patterns, values, and life trajectories. An intentional relationship shaped by personal meaning, digital influence, and the desire for mutual growth rather than tradition or necessity. Here it says the most advanced definition of romance is the intentional harmonization of two consciousness, biological or post-biological. Actually, before I read this, I've prepared something to read for you. So I pretty much gave this prompt to ChatGPT. Unfortunately, my membership finished, but it's the regular ChatGPT, but I was like, whatever. So it says, I asked ChatGPT, explain the realistic evolution of romance and what it means and how it would be like from 2025 up to the furthest future, and give me the most advanced, accurate, and realistic and also academic view of how it will evolve. Be specific and explain the romance even in an advanced civilization. Excuse me, even in an advanced civilization. And I said to the prompt, I'm asking you because I want to read for my viewers the evolution of romance into the future and what it means now and what it will be in the furthest future imaginable. So AI is like, all right, I got you, So AI gave an answer. It gave 3 layers to the answer. So there's 3 layers to the answer AI is giving. One is the academic view from 2025 to the near future, and then the advanced extrapolated view, mid-future towards advanced civilizations, and 3, most advanced possible view, deep future and far beyond current humanity. So we're going to start from the academic and realistic view. This is what a sociologist and okay, so it says 1, academic and realistic view, 2025 to the year 2050. This is what a sociologist and anthropologist or psychologist would say if asked to predict romance. 2025 to 2030. Algorithmic attraction era. Romance becomes increasingly mediated by matching systems. Dating apps evolve into behavioral AI companions that guide humans toward compatibility using psychological profile. Romance becomes increasingly mediated by matching systems. Dating apps evolve into behavioral AI companions that guide humans towards compatibility using psychological profiling, genetic health forecasting, attachment style analysis, long-term permanent prediction. That's incredible. All these things that are like random or in the domain of an unknown emotion will all be like metric, like, you know, they're all, AI is going to be able to somehow give them measure them. It says romance becomes less about, in quotations, finding someone and more about being guided to the statistically optimal partner. Casual dating remains, but AI filters most incompatible matches before they happen. 2030 to 2000, that's not a good thing. 2030 to 2040, relationship personalization and data transparency. Romantic partners begin sharing deeper data, emotional logs, stress levels, communication patterns, biometric feedback. That means, guys, in the future, AI is going to be able to process so much information that it's going to be impossible to deceive your partner. Do you understand? I'm telling you, human beings are living in a, they don't understand how easy it is now. One thing I have to do as just any human being born, whose voice may echo into the future, God willing, is that on behalf of all of us, sorry, we're making it more complex, but the complexities were killing us. Do you know what I mean? That means it's like, there's some souls, they're born in this world and they look around and, the child comes to the, guardians of the earth and it's like, yo, where am I? And they're like, yo, you're on earth. It's like, what am I? Oh, you're a human being. Oh, okay. Where is earth? It's like, okay, it's in the Milky Way galaxy. Where's the Milky Way galaxy? It's in the cosmos. Okay. And it's all these like, all right, I opened my eyes in an unknown world. I asked questions. They gave me answers as if those answers were the only world. Guys, I just chugged my cappuccino and I feel, an immense, heated power brewing. All right, hold on. I'm going to keep reading this, guys, but it's very important, I'm going to share my views in the middle of this too. So it says romance becomes less about finding someone and more about being guided to the statistically optimal partner. Casual dating remains, but AI... No, sorry, I read this. We went to the year 2030 to 2040. This is where I was. Romantic partners begin sharing deeper data, emotional logs, stress levels, communication patterns, biometric feedback. I read that. Couples can see how each other truly feels. This reduces misunderstandings but increases expectations. New romantic stability comes from data-supported compatibility, not trial and error. Romance becomes less dramatic and more intentional. The year 2040 to 2050. Hybrid partnerships. The rise of AI companions changes romance profoundly. Some people maintain both human and AI relationships. AI partners become emotionally intelligent enough to satisfy companionship needs. Human partners must offer something AI cannot. Authenticity, unpredictability, biological intimacy. That means, guys, the silliest among you will be the most attractive in a future that everything's calculated. Who knows, maybe when I give these talks, my silliness has a purpose as much as the depth of what I say, or whatever concept. It says marriage and long-term bonds adapt. Contracts become flexible. Relationships become modular. Shared goals. Children economics outweigh old traditions. Romance becomes a conscious choice rather than a social expectation. Two, advanced civilizational view. The year 2050. So what would romance be like from the year 2050 to 2200? Now we move where humanity becomes technologically mature. the year 2050 to the year 2080. Neuro-emotional synchronization. Couples can directly share emotional states using neural interfaces. This creates a level of intimacy impossible today. Partners can feel each other's sincerity, empathy becomes measurable, heartbreak becomes a treated psychological illness, romance evolves from emotional guessing to shared internal experience. Guys, that is huge. Oh my God. That means we're living in 2025. If you're in love with someone, or if you found love, like somebody who found like a paradise, you know what I mean? Or something like that. I'm saying it's like in a state of love, the person just wants to give. Do you know? But in the future, like if the guy sees something beautiful, he has to write a poem or something and go and read that poem or say that poem, to the girl, and the girl's like, oh my God, how beautiful are his inner eyes, and so what I'm saying is right now, I cannot give my imagination to people. I am living in an era where I have to communicate my inner realms. The inner realms and outer realms are divided by consciousness. People think that there's like, let me tell you, philosophers have never been philosophers. People who have wondered about the true nature of reality, they have never been just wanderers. They have been advanced ranked beings that have been permitted to see the front lines of the unknown world. That means if you are comfortable in civilization 1.0 right now, you have lost. The cost of the higher worlds is this one. The cost of noticing the advanced power is to notice this world is not the advanced power. The advanced power moves it. The movements are valuable. The efforts are valuable. The efforts are based on vision. The vision, in some sense, is based on the furthest edges of how you've understood reality at all. So in some sense, the greatest romantic is the one who in some sense has dared to wonder about the edge of the cosmos. Do you understand? That means it's like the romance, the true romance of the human being is in some sense, in this random unknown world as unknown selves, that have in some sense been conditioned and raised in a world to be a known self in a specific known world. Do you know? In fragmented known worlds where the psyche of the planet is fragmented now. The it's as if you don't understand. We are one species behaving like we are different. Yet we are in the same class, existential class. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. That means in the future, instead of me giving my inner world to you through words, it's like you can invite people into your mind. And then they'll be like, this dude in 25 noticed the mind was a realm. Medals of honor mean nothing in a simulation. Success means nothing in a simulation. O heart of the species, beyond the fog of your mind, beyond these mountains of existence, the skies call to us. Ooh. Sorry guys, what I'm reading is making me emotional because its depth is subconsciously heavy.
Advanced civilizational view, the year 2050 to 2200. Now we move to an era, now we move where humanity becomes technologically mature. 2050 to 2080, neural emotional synchronization. Couples can directly share emotional states using neural interfaces. This creates a level of intimacy impossible today. Partners can feel each other's sincerity, empathy becomes measurable, heartbreak becomes a treated psychological illness, romance evolves from emotional guessing to shared internal experience. Sorry, guys, I read this before. I'm just reading it. 2080 to 2150, post-scarcity partnership models. As society stabilizes economically, people no longer need partners for survival. Romance becomes purely psychological, spiritual, or aesthetic. Cohabitation becomes optional. Multiple relational models coexist. In brackets, solo plus AI, fluid partnerships, communal bonds. Love becomes a luxury experience, not a life requirement. Wow. 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 What the fuck? Guys, by the year 2080, that means there's a societal reason why we seek love, because reality is difficult to endure alone. But if reality doesn't become difficult to endure alone, be very careful. You're walking up a mountain that no one can climb that far. They're like, are you a psychologist? I'm like, fuck no. Do you know, I'm in some sense a designer. Do you know, I see designs before I judge them, and then I wonder how they have even entered existence. Before then, my realities begins engaging as a force with this world. Do you know, because on some level I see it two states. You know, before I have purpose in my life, I am a receiving being. I'm legit just absorbing. It's like energy reserve. You know, it's like anytime I don't, I am not an ideological entity, or my inner realms are not moving that much. It's like immediately energy. Like, I don't know, I'm energizing. My body's like a battery. Don't think like this body is just chilling here. This body is in some sense like absorbing the energy of its environment to survive. Okay, but the nature of it is there are boundaries to these energies, but the jurisdiction of what the destiny of unknown energy is in the system admin's domain. That means I, as a human being, as a user in this existential simulated system, which has a system admin beyond the world room and has moderators, and you're being told to go directly to the system admin. In Islam, I'm Muslim, God has no partners. You think truth is anything inside a simulated world? It's like guess again. And all the guesses will be wrong, because reality's truth is an unconditional original being. So we are right now legit. It's like, all right, what do we have in the moment? We have 8 billion simulated human, members of the species, like humans on Earth, on the surface of the planet. But we also have the unconditional original presence of the world before the simulated world arrived. We are in the second world. That's the point. Earth is not the first world. We're not in the original world. We are in the, everything is in the presence of the original world, but we are not experiencing Earth from the original world. We are inside a simulated sphere of meaning. You know, once I had this very, like, I guess, very post-apocalyptic, or I don't know how to tell you, like, I have, like, a certain organized darkness in my sci-fi, do you know? And there was a moment I had a vision that there's nothing on this planet. This planet is a dead rock, and there's these giant spheres on the planet, do you know, that are just moving, like these giant glowing spheres moving on the surface of the planet. There's no life or anything, no atmosphere, right? And inside those giant spheres is how that planet has become civilizations for eons, you know? I'm telling you, I have had my moments where I'm like, hey, what am I looking at? And they're like, you're looking at a world. And I'm like, wait a minute, is it a world though? It's not behaving like a world. It's behaving like there has to be an intelligence in a space. Until that intelligence realizes it was not born like your body is. You are what I would call it an eternal rancor.
That's what our souls are like. That means before, if somebody tells me, hey, do you believe in reincarnation and past lives? I'll be like, I only believe in one view of it. Okay? And that view is that before souls entered the womb, they were in a realm called Alam al-Arwah, which is an Islamic term which means the world of souls. And in the world of souls, souls had a rank. Souls of the same rank knew each other. So when they were born on earth, they became instantly friends or something. Souls of different ranks, they became enemies. But in reality, they were all enlisted in service of the divine command. The advancement of civilization is based on the recognition that in a divine field, a moment's manifestation is commanded. The whole point of life is to realize that it's not your world. That means my thing, if I have kids, you know what I mean? I'm going to kind of be like a little old school, and in the sense that I'm going to be like, all right, kids, go into civilization's ignorance, and I'm waiting for the day where you ask me, is this world just it? Sorry guys, I'm going to keep reading this. Year 2150 to the year 2200. Genetic and emotional engineering. Humans may augment attractiveness, emotional stability, attachment, precision, bonding hormones, drama, jealousy, and insecurity, once central to human romance, become tunable states. Romance shifts from emotional chaos to optimized emotional harmony. This creates a paradox. People miss the beauty of imperfection. Some choose to remain classically human for authentic love drama. That means they become so able to just have an advanced relationship with one another to the degree that they're going to miss how the ignorance we had now. 3. The most advanced possible view. Far future towards the cosmic civilization. This is the deepest, most futuristic, most philosophically advanced version, he requested, the one you can read to your viewers for that, in quotations, mind-expanding effect. Romance when humans become post-biological or multiform beings. When humanity evolves beyond biology, 1. Identity becomes fluid. Humans may shift between physical, digital, and hybrid existence. In quotations, romantic forms may be shared consciousness, entangled minds across planets, unions of memory architectures. Holy shit, this is too advanced. I can envision it, but it's so not of the taste of like current era, right? So guys, in the future, you know how there's this term like monogamy and then polygamy, and it's like this notion of somebody only being able to love one person properly, or somebody having an ability somehow, I don't know how they can prove this, to have in some sense an ability to love a bunch of people at the same time in the same way. I think the only way, if that's possible, if that person is it's a different type of love. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, it's saying that in the far future, we might reach the era of collective minds, and in that era of collective minds, there might be shared experiences. So imagine like there's a couple in like Italy, there's a couple in France, there's a couple in Japan, there's a couple in America, there's a couple in Iran, there's a couple in, I don't know, like China or something. Do you know what I mean? There's a couple in all around the different planet, and they become, the way they're having a romance, imagine it's a
doppelganger effect kind of. It's like the same kind of romance. That means imagine there's a guy flirting with a girl in Italy, do you know? And then there's a guy in France exactly in the same way flirting with a girl in Italy. And that girl behaving exactly in the same way that girl behaves in like France. Do you understand? So I'm saying it's as if that couple has reached a radio channel, like they've reached a vibe frequency, that if other couples from other parts of the planet are in the same frequency, their emotions can be shared, not their thoughts. That'd be weird. Do you know what I mean? That means if I was right now connected to like a collective mind server with a bunch of beings, do you know what I mean? I would not care about any of their individual lives. I would care about how their soul is valuing the moment to even have any emotion at all. Do you know what I mean? So it's as if like emotion, the transference of emotion is purer than the transference of like the exact thing. Because the thing about us humans is that we are right now in an era where we have inner realm privacy. Do you know what I mean? Right now, people don't even know. You know, I brought the terms inner realms and outer realms. I'm trying to use them till the end of my life until everybody starts using it. You know, it's like if the person used to say, "Man, my mind hurts," you know what I mean? The person would say, "Man, in my inner realms, there's too much geometry for me to deal with." You know what I mean? Like that's how that's like a I don't know, leap ahead. Anyways. It says, 2, love becomes informational resonance. Instead of attraction to bodies, humans feel drawn to compatible cognitive frequencies, harmonious value systems, shared existential trajectories. Commitment becomes creative merging. Excuse me, that's 3. 3, commitment becomes creative merging. Two minds might merge, partly exchanging memories, dreams, internal landscapes. This creates a romance defined by co-creation of consciousness, not physical or emotional needs. Okay, and then it says the furthest. Yeah, that means it's like two beings that have all their needs met. Their romance is just left to what they can create anew. So they have to create new needs or something, you know. Anyways, I'll read this. It says the furthest future imaginable. This section is the most advanced and accurate futuristic speculation, synthesizing philosophy, cognitive science, and advanced civilization models. Romance becomes the alignment of consciousness trajectories. In the furthest future, humans live as nodes in a vast cognitive network. Individuality remains but becomes permeable. Romantic bonds become sacred synchronizations between minds. I really like that term. They're like, "Are you dating?" I'm like, "No." Are you asking me if I'm doing a sort of sacred synchronization of my inner realms with another human being? It's like, it's like, yeah, man, I'm dating. You know? It says romance is no longer ownership, exclusivity, insecurity, desire. Okay, this is opposite of what's happening now. It says it becomes, in quotations, two intelligences choosing to share their existence patterns in harmony. That's a great definition. That's an incredible definition. That's an incredible definition of romance. Two intelligences choosing to share their existence patterns in harmony, which means two beings that each are living in a way that the other can't see behind their eyes. They choose to unite their inner realms. And I think this is what maybe many people don't perceive about marriage. I'm not even married yet, so I don't know how I can perceive this even this deeply. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, in some sense, you know, I've said it before, that perhaps it takes a lifetime to get to know what's behind someone's eyes. Do you know? Or who was truly there. It says love becomes a collaboration of awareness, a union of meaning, a co-authored identity, the intertwining of perspectives at the level of being. In highly advanced civilizations, romance becomes a spiritual technical art form. Partners sculpt consciousness together the way artists sculpt marble. Wow. What a sentence, wow. It says, in quotations, relationship is a long-term creation of a shared reality, not just a partnership. The deep implication, romance transforms from a biological urge to an emotional bond, to a spiritual practice, to a conscious design of shared existence. Short summary, romance will evolve from biological attraction to psychological compatibility, then to cognitive synchrony, and finally to the fusion of consciousness patterns. In the far future, love becomes the art of harmonizing minds, not bodies, two intelligences choosing to share their existence in the universe. That means love means you've somehow found an ability to share your existence in the universe with another. You know, my grandpa, God bless him, may he rest in peace, you know, in divine peace. I remember him telling me, Amin, get married. Do you know? Because when you get married, two eyes become four eyes. Two hands become four hands. Do you know? And I was like, okay, I'm getting, like, I was like, I got it, Grandpa. Do you know what I mean? And it was this, he was this thing of where, you know, in his old traditional, you know, old school, you know, Turkish Iranian way, you know, he was telling me, unite your moment with another. For that moment will become a greater moment. Do you understand? So it's about unity of minds is very different from the perversion of bodies. And when the species becomes conscious of that level of being, romance is an exploration into how advanced the moment can be. Do you know? That means they're like, what kind of beings are you interested in? And in some sense, I'm saying, like, in some sense, my wife should, in some sense, see something that she should see a world that I cannot. Do you understand? Like, because to me, people are, I don't know, like the concept of teachers and students, it's so outdated and meaningless because you can learn from how the world happens. If you ask questions about how things happen, then their answers are your knowledge. That means a knowledgeable person is someone who maybe goes into a moment, and if the average person has 1 to 3 views on a situation and then they make a decision, a knowledgeable person would in some sense maybe have even be lazy and have 1 to 3 views, but those 1 to 3 views can connect to, like, let's say, a ridiculous amount of context that the person's aware of. Do you know? Because it's very fascinating. From our perspective, we're like, this is one moment happening, you know, but from the perspective of somebody outside of us, they're like, wait a minute, that's a biological system. You know, the biological system is leading to, the neural activity is leading to a sort of psychological display. The psychological display is realizing it's not just a neural activity, that the body is in some sense acting more as an antenna in the sort of field of souls, solar intelligence. Do you know? That the true origin of reality, in some sense, it's like the only romance that has ever been sought is true romance. Do you understand? But what does true romance means? Either the worlds merged or they didn't. Because it's very important that in some sense, like, I don't know how human beings can become comfortable with one another if they don't share their realities. Because in sharing their realities, the commonalities of what values can there be? You know, it's like pretty much, it's like, yo, my eyes have seen this in existence. How have your eyes seen it? You know, and in some sense, you realize the depth of different positions and contexts to meaning. So I'm going to just read this one last thing and finish the research component. It says the most advanced definition of romance is this. Romance is the intentional harmonization of two consciousnesses, biological or post-biological, who choose to co-create a shared reality by synchronizing emotional states, meaning systems, and existential trajectories It is not rooted in desire or ownership, but in the mutual expression of awareness, where each being becomes more themselves through the presence, resonance, and evolution of the other. To the system admin, everything is known. The system admin is all knowing. To us inside the simulation, reality is known and unknown. Okay? And so it's the reason it's unknown that there's a reason to unite. Do you understand? Like, I was like, okay, how can I get the species to unite? And I'm like, okay, in advanced civilization, everybody's advancing their life. That means they're advancing their own mini life, which is their own life in civilization. And I was like, okay, this means that the species has to be ushered into an era of being responsible for, in some sense, on a species level, not just on a nationalistic, whatever idea you like to be level, on a species level, that we honor the presence of the biological human experiencer beyond the ideas that have in some sense been binding it. That means there are, just like how, there's the notion of, you look at it kind of in old school terms of magic. Okay, you kind of see it in some shows, like maybe in modern anime shows, you kind of see it, but there's a type of magic that is manipulating reality. This is old school ideology. Magic actually became obsolete the moment the prophets entered reality. The moment the divine commands were discovered, magic became an old world. It just became obsolete. But I'm saying, back in the day, though, it wasn't like that, and when it was a sort of kind of like who had the greater power, which meant who could manipulate the variables in the moment to their favor. Okay, but then there was a notion that the person who's manipulating the variables in the moment to their favor, with what sort of intent and presence, room of heart are they doing this? Like, with what sort of presence of what are their purity levels? Pretty much, purity levels means how much the person, regardless of their archetype, human archetype, has realized that there is that inner child within us. That means, let me tell you something funny. You know how they say when children have fun, or when you're a kid, you're having fun, time flies by. You know what I mean? Like, there is no idea of time. Let me tell you something very interesting. Humanity is designed with such interconnectivity potential that it's mind-blowing, because every person has access to the memories of their childhood, which is another way of saying it's not like when they were a child they grew out of who they were. It was like it's like all the views so far in life have been layered on top of each other. It's like, for example, me right now, I'm someone who I've lived around 12,000 days on this planet. Okay, and in these 12,000 days, every day, imagine it's like the first day I was born, they put like a pair of sunglasses on my eyes. They put like one pair of glasses on my eyes, and then the next day I woke up, another pair over that pair. So I had two glasses, like, on, like, you know what I mean? And then it was like you were eventually seeing, there were like, I'm someone right now that I've opened my eyes and I have reviewed around 12,000 value propositions. And before I allowed the world to convince me that I am in some sense an idea bound to a storified destiny that is in the only the human view, that means it's like a part of me is like, all right, man, I'm intelligent. I'm part of human intelligence right now. So there's the intelligence, which is the presence of how the moment moves, and then there's the human part. So you see, to be a human being, you need to be intelligent, but to be a human, like we can create a statue of a human. Is that human? It's very difficult to say if a statue of a human is human. Do you know what I mean? Because it looks like a human, but in some sense, is it a human? So that factor that makes us really human is what the ancients called soul, but in actuality, what you think is the soul is your mind trying to convince itself that it still makes sense. You don't understand. It's like, imagine there's an anti-human moderator in this existential system we're in, this anti-human force, and God is the original command and the original force. That means if you have faith in the original presence of being, which is beyond any ideological classification, do you know? And it's like, yo, man, why is it that children go to heaven? It's very obvious, because the world has not contained them yet. That means you're not possessed by a story. I am someone who, they're like, yo, man, do you know, I've said it in previous lectures, I've been in the language wars. I have been because I have a strange OCD, okay? My OCD is like this. It's like I just had this weird OCD where I was like, what if everybody's wrong right now and nobody knows? And it's like, I gotta start from scratch. Okay, I just have to, like, go through this and figure out, okay, what's going on here. And my mind, because it realized none of us know what's going on, and we've been in some sense storytelling this whole time, and right now we've been living through this storytelling operation to such a degree in this linguistic simulation that right now people, you ask them who they are, they're like, I'm my name, I'm my personality, man, I'm this idea of self, man, and they don't realize an idea of their self, which is one part of the moment, is owning their whole moments. You're all possessed by the ideas of yourselves. It's a possession of position of existential design before our will. Right now I finished reading the research component, right? And I'm gonna, in some sense, explain to you to some degree how this concept for me as a soul has opened up. I've pretty much done the research and the quote tunnel. I don't know, is there more to read for the quote tunnel? Nah, we'll read it later. What is romance? I think when it's when the world gets larger, where the horizons of what you thought were the limits of what you could experience and feel or like have expanded. It's like a potential has become real, because the challenge is, the whole point of it, if you go even read all the love stories, like I Googled, and like on ChatGPT even, I was like, what are the most like, important like love stories in history and all that, and all of them were tragedies. It was as if there was something beautiful, and in our pursuit of it we couldn't reach it, and we lost at the end, but the pursuit was beautiful, and it's like that sort of view on what love is. But to me, I think it's a matter of something that is like the reason I think we love. For example, if you ask a Muslim, do you love God? The answer is yes, because it is the source, the causal state. And I think that we live our lives, all of us, knowing that we're kind of like, there's an inner life that nobody sees. It's happening in a private inner realm server, and there's a outer life that others see, which is happening in a public server, physical life. And so that hidden inner life, like the outer life that's happening in a public server, the hidden inner life is something where I think human beings, they become tired of just existing as a value to themselves. And we are fascinated by what our value is, because let me tell you, it's like this. You're like, who am I? Every day you wake up, you have a new view on it, right? And then at some point you're like, okay, so what I am is an ability to generate any meaning, but I'm bored of generating meaning every day. So is there someone that can come and give me meaning? Do you know? But it's not just that, it's that when you go trying to generate meaning on earth, you discover it's limited and it's like trapped in a dualistic reality. But when you become aware beyond duality, it's like a metaphor for Pandora's box. That means that once the box is open, it cannot be closed. Once you realize you're an unknown presence of a life force, that you find yourself, you're like, right now my body is being a part of my moment. These thoughts and communication and my voice and the sounds and everything, these are all like positions in the moment. And when I've wondered, why is my awareness even here, it has occurred to me that the value of the human life is beyond the human will. That means it's like you could live whatever life, but after this life, the value of what you did may have been a different value to levels beyond you. Do you know that means I'm accessing a certain amount of myself? That means if somebody even asks me, yo man, do you know yourself? I'll be like, I know. I know what I've seen of myself so far in the conscious waking state and even in dream states. I know that on some level, I have to honor my ancestors, but at the same time, no smiling behind my eyes, know that they had no choice. Life was too meaningless. So they shrank it down. And language is like, we're like three-dimensional beings that it was too much for us to wonder about beyond the 3 dimensions. So we were like, okay, let's go down a level, right? So we're like we're these 3-dimensional beings that are living 2-dimensionally because it's easier that way, right? And because we couldn't go beyond the in some sense the 3rd dimension, like the 3-dimensionals, right? So because we couldn't access the 4th dimensional, it was meaningless to us, or even the 3rd dimensional was meaningless to us. We didn't know what it meant, because to me, it's one of my fascinating views that I'm like, okay, I have an access to myself, so I'm giving myself a certain value. The system admin of this reality, if it's watching me, and in some sense I have through the divine surveillance status in the simulated testing zone, if it's watching me, right, then in some sense I have a value to God beyond my fathoming, And whatever kind of being there is, because ultimately I finally understood why the Holy Quran was like, I'm a visual learner, so I saw the view of it. That the Holy Quran was sharing this view that having lots of children or wealth is not going to get you into paradise, but if you come to God with a sound heart, those specific words, with a heart that is in some sense has been humbled by the majesty of how much of life is actually happening in an unknown way, and yet we act normal, that we're just trapped in our own simulated meaning of it. You know what I mean? I'm not trapped, but in some sense, it's like, to me, there came that day, like everything I'm saying is as simple as this, that there will come a day where you will be fascinated by what you don't know, what you can't see, and the unknown, more than just looping the known and thinking that's what success was. Because to build the most advanced civilization, we need the most advanced state, and the most advanced state arises through the most advanced effort. That means I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me 8 billion souls are alive on the planet, and there's been countless humans, but all of them have been living selfishly, and they haven't united to live it, update the system before they die. Like, how ridiculous is that? What is success if you don't update the world you entered before you leave it? You want to know you've succeeded, go, in some sense, there's a saying, they say, before you can serve, you must serve before you can command. And go serve, in some sense, even if you're someone who doesn't even fit in the modern world, right? It doesn't matter. Serve the future's greatness. Do you know? It's like that dude who's like, in that show, Attack on Titan, that Captain Airman archetype guy, you know? That Captain Airman, like this character, this general, he's like, it was like an extinction scenario for them, right? And then the people, no, sorry, not an extinction scenario. It was like all the soldiers and the general were about to die against this like monster or something. And then one of the soldiers shakes and like panics and goes into hysteria and says, "Was it all meaningless? Did all of our efforts mean nothing if we're all dying now?" Do you know? And then this general, I don't remember exactly, what gives the most next level speech. And sorry, the guy who's panicking, the soldier, he's like, okay, so life is meaningless. My life was meaningless, right? And the soldier's just freaking out, right? And so the commander, it looks at all the terrified soldiers, and in some sense is like, he's like, your life, yes, your life was meaningless. Do you know what I mean? Something like some intense like reality check. And then the commander says, life is not meaningless because we live for those who will not know its meaning one day. Do you know what I mean? We don't, even though we can't access an advanced civilization, we live for one. That means live for your most advanced self. Your most advanced self is the realization that it cannot be the most advanced self without the most advanced world. And the most advanced self and world are kind of like a chicken and egg scenario. So in some sense, it's simulated. It's simultaneously. That means right now you're in a kind of cause and effect, sequential, I guess, logical reality. But I'm telling you, there's a way that everything is happening behind nature's laws, that it's as if it happens through divine commands. So existence is existing because it is, like, at least I guess to someone modern, it's programmed that way. And we are programmed this way. Why? We live it, and when we live it, we realize it. To me, romance is as simple as somehow the hidden life you were living behind your eyes and behind your name and behind all your personalities and whoever the character in the story you were, ideological character in the story you were, you just for a moment realize it's an unknown being, seeing an unknown being, but something about how they're both simulating themselves in a known way in the same known moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's I have shifted from, like, if you ask me, the view of destiny is way more advanced than karma. I don't like, to me, karma is like work hard and you'll get the results. I don't know about that. I think it has to do with how, like, the system admins will, That means, what does my greatness depend on? Well, when I realize I'm not the most advanced being, and existential existence is not the most advanced state of being, I realize that the original and the unconditional is the most advanced, which means a dualistic character in a story, a character in a dualistic story, its most advanced thing is being, like, so advanced that in some sense it becomes an infinite entity. So, like, an advanced human is like a human that, like, is immortal. Imagine from it, that from a certain geometry of perspective is valid. Do you understand? From a design perspective, but think of romance. Think of it this way: that every person you meet, you never know who they are. But romance is another way that it's as if like two beings are trying to see two inner realms, two different beings in the outer realms are trying to see if they are navigating similarly in the inner realms. How fascinating is that? For me, I've realized that life is not just about processing information. That in some sense, what we think is silly, what we right now, it's hilarious. We think silliness is valuable now, but if the unborn future generations in a parallel probabilistic view of how humanity can evolve, they're looking at us and they're like, my God, you oblivious human beings, you don't know how blessed you were in your obliviousness. It's not that ignorance is bliss. It's like, I mean, technically you can say ignorance is a blessing. Do you know, I'm happy in my childhood I didn't realize how effed up the world actually was. Do you know, that means I hovered in an illusion that was like, you know what parents are doing? They're trying to raise their children to, in some sense, feel that the world is not as bad of a place as it actually is. And in actuality, the children of the future generations will realize. They will look at the past and they're going to be like, what did our ancestors do? Oh, they lived for themselves? Okay, what haven't they done? Living for everyone else. That means it doesn't mean you are, it means that if we saw it as a monarchy, like right now we saw it as kingdom of humanity. And they were like, Mr. Within, who's the king? You know, who's the king and queen of this kingdom of humanity? Is it the most powerful elite beings on the planet? And I'll be like, no. The true kingdom of humanity, the crowns for the king and queen that we all serve. Do you know? Let me tell you what it is in a sort of modern divine human monarchy. It would be as if the future generations wear the crown. That means everybody that is alive is living for everybody who will be alive when we're no longer. Do you understand? The game is not about it's not. It's about the advancement of our role. Our role is to advance the world. Do you know? But this advancement is not egoic. Egoic. It's not based on the ego code. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna end the lecture. Thank you for listening. The evolution of romance is how that we can experience each other's minds, and we can live in each other's minds. That means you can take your girlfriend into like what you have imagined in your mind as like some next level sci-fi scape. You know, they're like, okay, where should we go for dinner? Let's go into my imagination tonight. Do you know what I mean? You can enter each other's minds like rooms that only, you know, you and that soul have hidden access to. You know, it's future's going to be fascinating. You know, and ultimately the true romance is realizing the romance of a simulated being with the original source of existence, the original power. Because even in the Holy Quran, it says it's delusional enjoyment. So what does that mean? That means you got to understand as a being that the way you think you're a human or a character or a person right now is a certain state of consciousness. It's like a certain settings you have. You know, and when you change the settings, this can change. When you alter states of consciousness, identity alters because the context alters that kept the previous identity the same. You know. Anyways, thank you for listening. And the evolution of romance is, in some sense, I think, in my view, the most brilliant romance is that in the presence of the highest power, two lower powered beings are staring at the same divinity. I don't know how to say it. It's as if like, you know, I thought in this modern age, is it like
corny to have like marriage ceremonies and all these, like, there was part of me that was like, okay, kind of doubting this, and then I was like, no, it's the sacredness of how the divine moves the moment at all. So at some point, you're not here on the planet to know everything. Don't worry about if you feel like you don't know everything. The point of it is to wonder about, okay, the activation of the human being is purpose-based. So what is the great purpose? That means if you're in a romance, what is the purpose? And I was like, it depends on the purpose of my soul. So the purpose of my soul is that it's kind of, it like startled by existence, do you know? But it's like, and its response to it, it's like, oh wait, we're all gonna leave at some point, so why were we here though? And it was it just to accumulate personal experiences, or was it to in some sense usher forth the most advanced expression of humanity in the presence of the most advanced expression, the divine? That means we, in some sense, how do I say it? It's like they don't. I haven't mentioned this before, but in the visions of advanced civilizations, the most advanced civilization, just like how a person realizes that what they thought was their personality is how they're being a node in a field, divine field, they're cognitively receiving it, so we call it the divine cognitive fields. That means it all returns to the original. An advanced civilization is a civilization that was destined by God's smile. That means we are so aware of reality that we have sectorized everything, and we have built a world where if you're born on Earth, you're like, man, why am I like a, genius writer, and I'm born in a realm of like, let's say, like, imagine some soul born in India, who is like the most next level writer, but at the same time is like, in an industrial city in India, born in an industrial city in India. So it becomes one of those situations where the person has to wonder, how far do I care for how advanced it can all be? To me, you're listening to a soul fascinated by not just how strange, mysterious, and eerie and unknown reality can be, but how advanced it can be. The potentials of advancement are found in the unknown. What that means is our minds can envision advanced civilization, but our bodies are in 2025. The fascination of a world beyond time. Thank you. And a world beyond time is a world that's divinely administered. So it all returns, this whole system returns to the system admin. But while you're simulated, remember the system admin. And it will open up a dimension to your life where you have a relationship with the original power. Do you know what that means? That means when I get scared, I wonder about what value did my relationship with my system admin, or the original power of reality that is unconditional to any thought or form, and in some sense, how can I understand that the presence of the field of activity at all in a realm is divine? And so in some sense, divinity is how consciousness has even found an ability. And it's like, you're like, why are humans ignorant? Oh, it's not because we're ignorant, it's because the divine is protecting us. This is why sometimes when I see some advanced things, some ideas, I just can't share. I see them, but I can't share them. I know that it's not for me to share. Because little do you know, I have been journeying behind my eyes in so many ways that at some point, I see myself as a presence within an advanced process of being, rather than a character in a story to tell you a story, Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and may God protect all those sincere, honest souls that in some sense, truly fulfilled the role of like, how do I say, the pure romance. That means out of the pure lands of each other's inner beings, you begin walking in ways that it doesn't matter, even in the darkest hour, the light was about to be there. You know what I mean?
It's the presence. It's like adding light. They're like, why did you marry her? You know, and I'll be like, she added light to reality. You know, that means the way she was living behind her eyes was fascinating. Like, do you understand? That's the fascinating thing. It's about intelligence, and how in some sense even there's a sort of imagined biological connection. You know, there's an existential connection to a biological connection, and a biological connection to, in some sense, a divine connection. So we went from creation to fields of awareness of being that many creative possibilities can arise. That means it's very fascinating. We should appreciate, you know, our ignorance. You know, this is why I think Islam is very advanced, because they're like, whatever happens, good or bad, say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Say Alhamdulillah, which means all praise due to the Lord of the worlds. That means that original power beyond any simulated suffering or joy, in the presence of an unconditional moment, all conditions stand, knowing what has placed them in. So in honor of the divine command that this moment of existence is, perhaps all romances were leading to the greatness of all of it. We want to, that means it doesn't matter how much you find yourselves, you know, among the crowd or alone. You are in the presence of a very advanced world, a very advanced being. The most advanced state of being is beyond the box we're in, that we're defining things from. For divine civilizations, were civilizations that were just, you know, remembering their destiny. The outer realms already knew where to go, because the system admin had already commanded it. For me, it's about where is my soul being commanded to next, or what is the true destiny of what is the true destined command of my soul. That means, what is my great performance in this being, state of being as an unknown being. It's fascinating. Life is fascinating. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds, which is another way of saying the original power is beyond the simulated reality. We as simulated beings smile in the simulation, because we realize the original, the original had to be the first moment before the simulated could. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. Thank you.